Raw review for the March 10th episode of Raw. I'm Will, that's Brandon. We're the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast. As always, let's cheers. Talk about some wrestling.
Yeah, we knew live from the Garden, it's going to be a good show, and God, did it end on a high note.
Yeah, it was great. That ending was absolutely incredible. Let's get through it right now, though. Let's go into it. By the way, our live stream was absolutely incredible. Thank you all for being there. Of course, like, follow, subscribe on all of our stuff. Let's grow this community. Let's keep doing it. Share it. Hell yeah. Jey Uso starts the show, though. He was yeeting down in Madison Square Garden. They were yeeting all over the place, but he wasn't there to talk. He was there to fight. He's fighting Grayson Waller, who obviously, held him in A-Town Down Under, jumped Jey Uso last week after, all that stuff happened. And now we get a match, and Waller would dominate. Waller dominated like 90-80% of this match. Did a bunch of good stuff here with suicide dive into him, all that stuff. Theory would actually get involved here. There were some talks beforehand of like, well, is this going to be the final straw, and Theory's going to turn, because Theory had been doing the yeets and enjoying Jey Uso festivities over the past few weeks, even on NXT and stuff like that. But no, Austin Theory would be getting involved in this match, distracting here and there in order for Waller to get the upper hand throughout the whole thing. But this whole thing would happen, though, and we get the Waller doing the where he's on the outside of the ring and he rolls through the bottom rope into the flatliner, which is really nice. But Jey Uso would have the quickest comeback ever. I mean, it was just a quick comeback, a couple super kicks, running the rope, spear, 1, 2, 3. Jey Uso gets the win here, but of course, Austin Theory is not just going to let his buddy lose the match without us, having a say in it. He jumps into the ring, he starts attacking Jey Uso, and obviously Waller gets up eventually and starts attacking him too. Jay's able to throw Waller over the top rope out to the outside of the ring, and then he does get Austin Theory with a nice spear. But the second he spears Austin Theory, Gunther is there out of nowhere with a chokehold on Jey again. He ends up putting Jey to sleep. So we get Gunther putting Jey to sleep once again, 2 weeks in a row here. I enjoyed this match. It's been a while since we started Raw off with a match with absolutely no commentary beforehand. I liked it, popping it.
Yeah, I think Jey also gets a splash in there as well.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because I was like, why didn't he get the splash on Waller? Well, he gets it on Theory. Yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah.
I really like this. Really kind of fast-paced way to start out Raw tonight. I've been wanting hey, let's not get 20 minutes of dialogue. Let's just get into wrestling. This is a wrestling show. Let's just get after it. Jey would not have been the one that I would have thought to do it, but I'm glad he did it. I thought this match was perfect. I thought Waller looked strong here, kind of maybe getting some credibility for him now, which is nice to see. Much deserved for A-Town Down Under. Jey gets the win, quick comeback, and then he gets put to sleep. I'm really enjoying this so far.
Yeah, it's kind of been the same build a few weeks. We're just laying the groundwork with Gunther beating him down every single week, putting him to sleep. Eventually, we're going to get Jey starting to come through and do, have a comeback of his own throughout this story. So waiting for that to happen. If we get this again next week where he gets choked out again, may have something else to say about it. But at the moment, I'm fine with it. I like it.
Yeah, I think before we move on, one quick little note was I thought it was really cool or really important the way the camera work was, because Gunther kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He all of a sudden popped up behind Jey for the camera work. So that was impressive. Like, it was like, well, are we going to get the same thing? Which we did, but the way that it was shot was really cool. Gunther could kind of pop up out of nowhere. Really liked that.
Logan Paul would be coming out, and a fan in the crowd was wearing a I Hate Logan Paul shirt that I guess you can buy on WWE Shop now, and he walked up, ripped the shirt right off him, but that place was giving him boos. Probably the second loudest of the night that Madison Square Garden was for Logan Paul, booing the absolute hell out of him.
Maybe third.
It was,
I'd say third.
It was close. He was getting a good reaction here, but he goes, you know what, AJ called me to be here tonight, but I'm beating him to the punch because I don't associate myself with guys like him. You think of me, you think of guys like The Rock, like John Cena, names of men who will do anything to get to the top. It took Cena 20 years in order to realize that nice guys finish last. Well, I've always known that. So, Rock, if you want to come get me, my soul is yours for the taking because I don't miss good opportunities. He goes, people come and pay to see me. I can prove it. Look, my good buddy is sitting in the crowd, and in the front row is comedian Andrew Schultz. He's got a podcast and stuff too. He's had some wrestlers on it, but he goes out there to greet Schultzy, as he called him, and he gave him a mic, and he was like, why are you here, Schultz? And Schultz was like, well, I'm here like everybody else is to see the steel cage match later. CM Punk, Seth Rollins. And Logan's like, yeah, they're guys that are also here, and he's trying to get a word in. And Schultz eventually just goes, look, Logan, no one's here to see you, dude. And when that happens, Logan's like, you know what, screw this guy. Pulls him over the barricade, and the commentary team's doing a great job. They're like, he's just a bystander. He bought a ticket. You can't do that, Logan. Throws him into the ring, and he sets him up to do a suplex win. AJ Styles, he would run out. He'd start to beat down on Logan Paul, gives him a phenomenal forearm. Logan Paul rolls the outside of the ring. He starts to walk away. AJ grabs a mic and he's like, where you going? I ain't done with you. You just sat there and said that you ain't going to run from an opportunity. Well, I'm giving you an opportunity to come one-on-one with me in the ring right now in Madison Square Garden. This is New York. This ain't Cleveland, Ohio. And Logan Paul looks back and he contemplates it, but he goes, nah. And he walks away. And so, and that's that. Logan Paul basically wusses out of going to take on AJ Styles. I actually enjoyed this. I'm going to give it a pop. I think what Logan Paul is doing in the heel aspect of his character is obviously working. Crowds are very invested in hating him, and that's exactly what you want. Popping it.
Yeah, I thought the most interesting part of his promo was that he would sell his soul.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting if we have, because we had A-Town Down Under in a, I guess, commercial break interview. I think it was last week. They talked about selling your soul as well. So we're continuing to get layers of these superstars being like, me. What about me? I really kind of like that part of it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
As for the stuff, though, I'm going to drop it. It didn't do anything for me that I didn't already have.
It's fair.
It was just kind of your standard stuff. Seems like we're going to be getting AJ and Logan maybe at Mania, which is going to be a great in-ring match. This time, to me, could have gone to something maybe like the women's mid-card. We did get to see a number one contender match later on in the night, but stuff like that, or even a live promo, something like that, I would have found maybe a little bit more enjoyable, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, God, I hated that. It was just a segment for me.
Yeah, the main takeaway here was we are going to get the Logan Paul versus AJ Styles match, with which some people are going to complain that AJ deserves to be doing something better, but in the defense of the match, to me, AJ Styles stole the show of WrestleMania one time with Shane McMahon. If he can do that, then I think that given these guys enough times with how athletic Logan Paul is and what he's proven to do with time and preparation, these two are going to steal a show at WrestleMania as well. It's going to be great. I'm okay with this feud. I'm in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this being the feud, if you want to look at the people that don't like Logan Paul, a positive side here, this feud means he's not around any title scene.
Yep.
So there you go.
Exactly. New Day is now taking on LWO, or members of them, Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio, probably the two most important members of LWO, but they're in a tornado tag, no disqualification match. Yes. It's a lot to say, but LWO would dominate this match right away. They get into the ring and immediately just start beating the hell out of New Day. They would copy each other's moves on each guy on the opposing sides of the ring. So they did like the 10 beats in the corner, threw them to the outside, and they were throwing them to the stairs and all this stuff. But they made the poor decision to go grab the table when the crowd told them to grab the table, which gives, of course, the heels, the New Day, time to jump on them and throw the table back under. So that's good stuff. But they all ended up, after the commercial break, being on the corner, all four of them. Ray would do a springboard Hurricane Rana that would send Xavier Woods over, and then Dragon Lee would do a top rope stomp to Kofi Kingston. That was real nice. And then that table would end up going up, and Rey Mysterio would go there, Hurricane Rana, Xavier Woods through that thing. I mean, this dude's 50.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
He kind of hits it, rolls off, and then he rolls back, and then it breaks.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. I like when that happens.
Yeah, I mean, crazy stuff here. But we would get Ray eventually 619ing Kofi Kingston, but when he goes up to do the frog splash that follows it now, West Coast Pop, frog splash, whatever you want to call it, Kofi Kingston would get his knees up, but Dragon Lee would actually jump on Kofi before Kofi got too much of an advantage. But that's when we'd go to the outside of the ring, and the fun times would ensue because Xavier Woods obviously went through the table, which means Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio get to beat up on Kofi Kingston on the outside. But a random fan out of nowhere, dressed in a American-made Lucha Libre mask, jumps over and takes out Rey Mysterio, takes out Dragon Lee with a suplex on the outside, which gives Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods enough time to find a way to get their finishing move off on Rey Mysterio and get the win here as the Lucha Libre gets chased away into the crowd. It's absolutely phenomenal. This was spectacular. I'm popping it. But, I mean, what can I say? Chad Gable in a freaking Lucha Libre mask screwing the LWO every week? Dude, sign me up for that. That is the funniest stuff. It is so great.
Well, it's not Chad Gable.
That's true.
So you can't say that. He might have done a move that looked like the Chaos Theory.
Yeah.
which is Chad Gable's finisher. He might have also been wearing clothes that look like Chad Gable.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
He was somewhat built like Chad Gable, but it was not Chad Gable.
You're right.
We would find out later. This match was great. This match was fantastic. The luchador, the masked luchador running away with the drone shot, I thought was really cool. On the live stream, I lost all control. I was just laughing really hard, and I couldn't help myself. Fantastic stuff. We talk about New Day continuing to build some momentum here. Another great way for the heels to get the win here.
Yep.
Even though they kind of came out and cut the promo beforehand, and they weren't really getting a whole lot of boos there, but what they're doing in ring, how they're winning matches, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly how you book them. I still see people online kind of say that like, oh, the New Day's been wasted ever since their heel turn. I get where you're coming from. I get it. But this is exactly how I wanted them to be booked personally, so I enjoy it. I don't want them to be a dominating heel team because then that gives them reasoning to get rid of or to do the turn on Big E. Like that validates their reasoning. Like, we don't need you. This is way better. They're winning in the most slimy, stupid ways. They're barely pulling it off. And that's exactly what you need because eventually that luck's going to run out. But this is just a good way to do the heel stuff. But like you alluded to, we did get Kathy Kelly and Chad Gable in the back. And Kathy was riding our boy. She's like, why were you? Yeah. Why were you here earlier in a Lucha Libre mask screwing over LWO? And Chad Gable's like, I don't know what you're talking about. In fact, I thought it was disgusting. The security here at Madison Square Garden should be ashamed of themselves because they let that fan just hop on over and then run away from him. And Kathy Kelly keeps getting on him. And then in the background, you see the Lucha Libre being arrested. Mm-hmm. So there he is with Chad Gable right there. And Chad just goes, Madison Square Garden security, pathetic, and walks away. So good.
Yeah, so good.
It's so good.
Before I talk about that real quick, one last thing on the New Day. The slimy stuff also works here because I don't want them being dominant because they don't have the stature to be dominant heels.
Yeah.
So this works. It's fantastic. It's perfect. Now, as for Chad Gable getting wrongly accused, I don't know why that would be such a thing. Why would Kathy do something like that? It clearly was not Chad. There's clearly a problem with New York security. I assume there's going to be problems with the Belgium security next week as well. So do not be surprised if somebody else tries to portray Chad Gable in a bad light.
I'm completely with you. But breaking out of kayfabe, doing this every single week is going to be absolutely amazing to me. I think that the Chad Gable running around in a Lucha Libre mask, screwing over LWO weekly or whoever he decides to go after, Penta, any Lucha Libre in all of wrestling, that is going to be comedy gold. One thing they need to do is capitalize on the damn thing. Don't let this be just another Chad Gable story that sizzles out randomly.
Yeah, and I don't think that they will. Chad has continued to do amazing things when he's given kind of crap, for lack of a better term. We'll see if it happens next week. I wouldn't be surprised if another masked luchador is on the loose in the Penta match.
Yeah, 100%. We should do it. Anyway, let's move on. Finn is pissed off in the back, Finn Balor, because of obviously the stuff that happened with Braun Breaker the week before, and he's blaming Dom to Carlito. He's just talking to Carlito alone. And he's blaming Dom for everything. Dick. And Dom and Liv and Raquel show up, and Liv says, no, things are turning like we said they're going to, because Raquel has a number one contender match for the IC title tonight against Bayley. And then Dom steps up to the plate and goes, Finn, I got a match against Braun Breaker for the IC title. And Finn's like, let me guess, for you. And Dom goes, no, got it for you. Next week, you're going to be taking on Braun Breaker for the IC title. And Finn is so elated that he hugs Mr. Dirty Dom Mysterio. So good things happening for the Judgment Day tonight, or I guess in the coming nights. Yeah,
we'll see what happens. I mean, you could have called him Chagrin Balor at the beginning. How upset he was.
He was very chagrined. Amen. But Cody Rhodes is now coming out. Didn't know that he was scheduled to be here, but at Madison Square Garden, I guess you got to have Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. He was advertised.
He was? Oh, see, look at me. He comes out, and he's still got his shiner. Turns out shiners don't go away in a couple days. But he goes, this is the home base of the WWE. My opponent, John Cena, is not here. Apparently, he's told his inner circle, a.k.a. The Rock and Travis Scott, that he will be in Belgium next week. He goes, the day after Chamber, Cena went on social media where he said, have the discipline to do what must be done. John, sit down, you dumb moron. That's what he said.
You goddamn moron.
You goddamn moron.
Mm-hmm.
Can't say that to John.
Why not?
Goes,
what's he going to do?
He goes, yeah, that's true. Not there.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes, you keep saying that you're best for business, but nobody's better for biz than Cena, I guess, even though there are 20,000 people here tonight. The whole crowd went wild. Yeah, we showed up for you, Mr. Cody Rhodes. He goes, guess what? This business has changed, John. 17 will not happen, but what will happen is you losing during your final chance. John, I am the captain now. It's good stuff. Good stuff. I gotta pop it. I'm really liking these charged Cody Rhodes promos. Not only do I think he's delivering the lines well, I think he's doing a really good job of tearing down John Cena, making the moment live up to what it was, like establishing the gravity of what has happened now that John Cena has turned heel. Cody's done a great job of that. And then, of course, on SmackDown, he did the you want some, come get some. And now I'm the captain now. Basically, he's coming and saying, look, we don't need you anymore, Cena, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, and he's saying, look, I'm not going to go down without a fight. Like, it's some really good stuff from Cody. It's great character development, I feel like, from Cody, or a different side of Cody you get to see, rather than just, what do you want to talk about? My dad's Dusty Rhodes. Hey, I won 2 Royal Rumbles in a row. Look at that. So it's nice to see that sort of thing. I'm really enjoying these fired up promos. I find myself going back and forth. Now, I think Cena is going to ultimately get the win, but at the same time, the crowd tonight kind of embodies how I feel. You get the let's go Cena sucks chance. I find myself going back and forth. John, Cody. And whoever gets the last word is probably going to get my vote, sort of thing. Cody's doing a really good job for the couple of weeks that John's gone. Like you said, really establishing the gravity of, hey, this is a big deal. Sometimes we've seen it to where people have these big moments and then they just kind of fall flat, and nobody really kind of, for lack of a better term, puts the moment over. And Cody's done a great job of that.
Yeah, and like you said, I think it's very important that Cody is making people side with Cody. Like, his promos have been so good that you kind of find yourself like, when he says, I'm the captain, and it's like, damn right, Cody, you are the captain now. You know what? And that's a big deal, because it's going to be hard to actually get people to boo John Cena, even though he's a heel. People are still going to love him when he walks in the building. So you got to have somebody that can try to step up to the plate and try to swing some of these guys. And I think that Cody's done a phenomenal job of it so far. That you want some, come get some. I'm the captain now, like he's been saying. I'm bought in. This feud is already completely bought in, and we haven't even seen John Cena actually show up as a heel. So can't wait for next week.
Yeah, like you said, we get that next week, and that's going to be really important. I mean, it's John Cena, so
John
he's going to do amazing. He's gonna knock it out of the park. It's going to be interesting to see if he comes out to that or not.
Bad man.
I guess we'll see what happens, but it's just, my excitement is going to be even more after next week.
Phenomenal. You know what was phenomenal? Raquel had a great singles match after this. She did. She came out in her number 1 contender match for the IC title against Bayley. Of course, she came out with Dirty Dom and Liv, but this was a moment. We were very anti-Raquel there for a while. We gave her just as much dirt that most people did after she had a return. But we had also been saying that in the last few weeks, she's done a good job. They've booked her well. She's been doing good stuff in matches, but now is a one-on-one match against somebody that most people can have a great match against, right? Bayley. Yep. She's a good. So how you going to line up? How you going to do well? And she did. She lived up to the hype here. But it was absolute back and forth to start until Raquel would own most of this match. They let Raquel have it, right? She's big. She's dominating. She was big. She dominated. But eventually, Bayley would have a comeback. She'd hit her top rope elbow, all that good stuff, a back suplex. But Raquel would actually reverse the rose plant and send Bayley to the outside, where, of course, that's where everybody is, right? So is people going to get involved? No. What turns out happening is Raquel goes to throw Bayley into the post, but Bayley's able to push Raquel into the post. And when that happens, Dom's like, okay, time to do something about this. He jumps up on the ring apron while Bayley's in the ring. Ref comes over to Dom. Liv gets involved, but Bayley actually is able to kind of kick Liv to the side. She doesn't cause that much. She doesn't injure Bayley during the match, right? But when she comes over to try to reestablish herself or reinsert herself over Raquel is able to slam Bayley on the outside and onto the announce table, get her into the ring, hit the Tijuana bomb. 1, 2, 3. Raquel Rodriguez gets the win here with the help of Liv and Dom. She now gets to go on to fight Lyra Valkyria for that Intercontinental title. I'm finding myself kind of leaning on the fence on whether or not I want Raquel winning that thing, which is a change of scenery, and I love it. Pop.
Yeah, I'm going to pop this as well. Like you said, we were a little bit critical of Raquel, to say the least, but I think deservedly so. There was a little bit of ring rust. Also, I mean, at the time, she was going against Rhea Ripley, so it's like, well, you're trying to establish her, but she's going against Rhea Ripley. Yeah, it's kind of a no-win situation.
Yep.
She seemed to have really knocked the ring rust off. She seems to be looking pretty good in the ring. I find myself enjoying her again with the helps of Dom and Liv. I'm really intrigued to see how that match goes for the IC title. It makes me think that Judgment Day is just going to help her out. Why not give her the title? Why not have her pull double duty for a little bit?
Yeah, you have to eventually give a reward to this Dom character, really giving all these people, helping all these people out with these title matches and stuff. Like Dom is setting all these people up, and we think that, eventually Finn's going to fail and Dom and him are going to go at each other, but you have to give us an example of Dom doing the right thing and getting somebody to the top. Why not be Raquel? She doesn't have to carry the title all the way to Mania. She could lose it back the next freaking week after Liv and Dom help her beat Lyra, right? And then you just say, okay, well, they helped, so give her a rematch, bada bing, bada boom, Lyra gets it back. But like a 1 week reign, 2 week reign with Raquel, with Dom saying, haha, I did that, I helped Judgment Day get back to the top. Why not? Raquel's done the work. She's put the effort in. I think she's doing much better. I could see it happening.
Yeah, she put the effort in, and I mean, there's going to be a lot of people saying, no, please don't do that.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like Lyra hasn't really blown our socks off with what she's done. So it's like, why not? Like you said, a couple week reign really doesn't harm it in any way. She can win it right back, and they can set up something towards Mania for whoever.
Yeah.
Why not?
And you give Lyra a little story there.
Yeah,
which is desperately needed.
And plus, if they help Raquel win, and then they either don't help Finn win, or they try to help Finn win and he ends up losing, that progresses that storyline even more.
Bingo. Michael Cole's in the ring. Why is Michael Cole in the ring? Well, he's introducing our new women's champion, Io Sky. She comes on down to the ring. She says it's a dream to be in Madison Square Garden as our champion. She said she proved the impossible is possible. Now it's time for her to go to WrestleMania, when Cole would introduce her opponent at WrestleMania, Miss Bianca Belair, who would come out to the ring, and she'd say, first, congratulations to you, Io. I'm very excited for your fight. But then Michael Cole would step in and have to stir things up. Cole was being a little spicy here.
Yeah.
He said, Bianca, I can't help but ask if you think that if you weren't ringside last week, would Rhea Ripley still be champion because of the obvious interaction that happened last week?
Why is he going to do that?
I don't know. Why Cole got to stir the pot like that?
Yeah.
But Bianca said, I've had enough of drama over the last couple of weeks, Cole. I don't really need that. I'm sorry, Rhea. I was just there to see two competitors fight, to see who I'd fight at WrestleMania. But when she put her hands on me, what do you expect me to do? I'm not going to back down from anybody. And when that happened, the music happened. This is my brutality. Rhea Ripley comes storming out. She's already got a mic in hand. She says, cut the music, which people in the crowd didn't like. They like her music a lot.
Yeah.
But she says, Bianca, what was the reason, huh? Why were you here? It was a title match. We know why you were there. You're scared to face me, so you wanted to be in Io's corner. Hell, you might have been the one to attack Jade anyways. We don't even know. And when she brings that up, Bianca Belair is like, okay, well, really? You gonna bring that up right now? Like, of course, there's none of that has to do with any of this, for one. But honestly, I think that that you're just taking all your anger out on me because you realize you can't beat Io Sky. And so they start to absolutely go back and forth and bicker. And Io keeps trying to insert herself into the middle of them. But first, Bianca shoves her away.
Rhea does first.
Rhea does first. Mm-hmm. Rhea shoves her away, and she stumbles, falls. And then she gets back up. She tries to insert herself again while they're bickering, and Bianca then shoves her and she falls again. And then Io's pissed. She starts smacking both of them. She gives them both a slap. She starts having this hilarious breakdown in the middle of the ring. She said, you ruined my moment. You ruined my moment. You ruined my moment. And she storms off. And that's how we end this one here. I want to hear your opinion on it. I want to hear your opinion on this promo segment.
Why? Because we had a little back and forth, huh?
I'm torn when it comes to popping or dropping this segment. Convince me.
I'm going to do both.
You're going to both?
I'm going to do both, which probably doesn't help convince you. I'm going to pop it for the end of Io, and I would say also Bianca's part as well. I'm going to pop that side of it. I'm going to pop 2/3 of it, I guess you could say. I'm dropping the Rhea stuff, though. Rhea's reasoning for, well, you just wanted Io to win. Why were you out here? Especially after her promo last week in Raw. it doesn't really line up. She took responsibility last week, but now she doesn't want to take the accountability this week. So there's a little bit of a gap there that I'm finding myself trying to understand. Also, we see people come out and watch title matches all the time. Happens literally all the time. So why would Rhea be so upset with this one? I mean, yeah, I know she lost, but it goes back to even during the match. I was like, well, why is she taking so much offense to this? I don't really understand it. As for the Bianca stuff, like, yeah, I was just there to cheer on the better woman. I like that. Like, we get that. It's Rhea Ripley, it's Io Sky, it's two fan favorites. Like, kind of like us. Like, I don't really care who wins. It's going to be a phenomenal match. Let's just watch it. So I really like that. I do like Io here standing up for herself. I think that's really important. I do think the storyline is going to kind of be Rhea and Bianca kind of overstepping their bounds or overshadowing Io, and Io needs to kind of stand up for herself. To your point, to your credit, you said, well, these are two of the top women in WWE, and Io, not in the sense that she can't maybe hang because she's so great in the ring, but she's going to need to kind of step up the promo game, which I think she can. So this is going to be a big tell for Io in terms of, hey, let's make sure you hang with them. I thought tonight was a step in the right direction of, hey, you might be Rhea Ripley, you might be Bianca Belair, but don't forget about me. Like, I'm Io Sky. So I really liked that part of it.
I'm not going to give it a pop and a drop. I'm going to drop it. I will say everything you said about Io is totally right. I love Io, and I'm glad that she's a part of this. I'm glad she's champion going to WrestleMania. She belongs in this moment, and that's that. And I think Bianca did well here. Please don't let this be the way that Rhea Ripley gets into the women's title match. Come on. There have to be more creative ways than, well, you were sitting next to the ring. Why were you out? Why were you watching our match? Why did you have to get involved? For one, during the match, Rhea went over to Bianca. She had the match almost won and went over to Bianca and put her hands on Bianca first. She shoved Bianca and then Bianca got involved. It doesn't make any logical sense as to why Rhea would be mad about any of this. We see Charlotte almost weekly on SmackDown sitting and watching Tiffany Stratton during her matches. You never hear Tiffany bitching about that. I'm fine with Rhea being involved in the women's title match. Io versus Bianca versus Rhea sounds phenomenal, but I'm going to need a better reasoning than, like, you were there and seemingly cost me my belt. It doesn't line up.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really line up, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, literally last week after Raw, she took the accountability. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. I've had all these instances where I was maybe the problem, even going back to Dom and her and Liv and her. Maybe I'm the problem. And then literally this week she comes out and she's like, no, you know what? I'm not the problem. You're the problem. And it's like, what? But you just said, so maybe that's the character, I guess, development or like devolvement we get of Rhea, is maybe realizing that she's the problem. But tonight it didn't give you that at all. So it's like, where was this? Because like you said, the you cost me my title, that's not good enough. You had something really good here, I thought. This avenue of maybe it's my fault, I thought was really good. Well, we got none of that tonight. So what was the point of the segment last week if you're not going to continue that?
Yeah, I completely agree. I really liked that backstage promo last week. It really made you think that we're going to go a different route with Rhea, and this is the first week of doing this, so maybe it does end up being the main story that we end up getting to down the road. It's just that if this is going to be how you dip your toe into the water of the three triple threat way at WrestleMania for the title, that doesn't work. I would rather her come out, admit to, maybe I did cost myself, but like, look, I should have still won that title during the match. I let it get out of play, but let me earn my shot back at it in some way, shape, or form. That would have been more admirable and just a better route, in my opinion, than her just coming out and being like, you cost me, blah, blah, blah. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's interesting because we think that Rhea's going to end up getting a match and beating, let's say, Bianca.
Yeah.
It's going to be real interesting if Io's out there watching.
Yeah.
Like, do
Yeah,
we
right.
have another interference?
Yeah.
Like, does Rhea
Oh,
again?
you cost me. Like,
Or do we just keep going?
main event time, why everybody was here. It was the advertised big one. It was CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Steel Cage, and boy, oh boy, did this thing live up to the hype because they beat the hell out of each other. The second CM Punk got into the ring while Seth Rollins had already made his entrance, they went to war. And it ended really quickly with Seth Rollins buckle bombing CM Punk into the steel cage back-to-back times, and then during the commercial break, he just kept doing hip attacks into the cage. I mean, he was using CM Punk's face as a cheese grater. He was doing all the great stuff that you want to see during a steel cage match. But CM Punk would get the comeback here, and he would start doing GTSs to Rollins. 2 GTSs for that matter. And when they both had the advantage in this match, they both took the time to gloat, and they'd have the ref open the door, and they'd take the time to flip each other off while the ref was opening the door. And they were basically setting the tone of like, look, we're here to kill each other, and there will be a winner. No one is leaving this cage. We are going to pin one another or make each other submit or kill each other, and that's it. Okay? But good stuff would end up happening. They would go to the top rope, to the top of the cage, all the good stuff that we love to see, which would end with Seth Rollins getting a superplex. So he was on the top rope while Punk was halfway on the top of the cell. So like a super-ish plex, not quite from the top of the cell, but I mean, good enough. CM Punk's an old man, okay? He took a big bump.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
for him being fragile, that was big.
Yeah, he didn't look too fragile. But Punk would end up hitting another GTS. 1-2 ooh there. And then he would go for another. And then Rollins would follow it up with a STF submission maneuver. John Cena. Same move that Rollins was saying, die, as John Cena had it on CM Punk at Elimination Chamber. So good stuff there. And then Punk would roll that up into an Anaconda Vice. So we were getting all the stops are being pulled out there. The whole shebang. But when Seth Rollins got out of the Anaconda Vice, he would follow it up with a stomp to CM Punk, which would be a 1-2 ooh. Now, people are probably going to complain about a portion of this match because we got into a finisher fest and kick-out fest here, right? So Punk would reverse another stomp, hit a GTS, 1-2 ooh, and then Punk would hit a stomp onto Seth Rollins, another 1-2 ooh. So at that point, Seth Rollins had taken 3 GTSs and a stomp, and he is still kicking out of stuff. So I kind of understand when people get a little bit mad about that. But Punk would eventually open the door after this, and Seth would look at him and go, you know what? You want my house? Take it. Come take it. And he was basically begging Punk to come back in, and Punk would run, hit a knee, but Rollins would pop up, hit the GTS onto Punk. And then Rollins would hit a stomp onto Punk back to back. So like GTS, stomp, 1-2, ooh, kick out.
Yeah.
So finishers were not being protected here.
Lots of finishers.
Not being protected.
Lots of them.
But when that happened, Seth Rollins climbed to the second rope, hit a super stomp on CM Punk, and he goes and after he hits it, he relaxes on the rope nearest to the open door. So he's kind of just relaxing on the rope, and the camera is focused on his face, but you can hear the crowd getting loud. And all of a sudden, a freaking giant-ass tatted forearm is around Seth Rollins' neck, pulls him out of the ring, so Rollins technically wins the match, but it's Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, your tribal chief now. The YTC is now on his shirt, but he Superman punches Seth Rollins. He spears Seth Rollins. Crowd's going crazy. He takes Seth Rollins over, puts his head onto the steel steps to return the favor that Seth Rollins did at Royal Rumble.
You're just going to skip over the stomp.
Oh, yeah, he did. Roman Reigns stomped him. God damn, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he
paid him back. He hit everything.
He paid him back on that one. But then he takes him over the steel steps because Rollins super stomped Roman Reigns' head on the steel stairs at Royal Rumble. So Roman's like, you know what? Your turn. That hurt.
Eye for an eye.
Didn't feel too good. Eye for an eye. But before he could do it, of course, everybody's running out. Security, Adam Pearce, everybody's stopping him. But then Roman Reigns turns to look at Punk, and what do we see? Paul Heyman is in the ring with CM Punk. And he's like counseling him. He's like there. He's holding him. He's like hugging him. And CM Punk's hurt. And he looks very worried about his friend CM Punk. And Roman's like, oh, hell no. He goes into the ring. He starts throwing Punk on all the walls of the steel cage. Runs the rope. Super spears him. Doesn't give, we don't get to see any interaction between Heyman and Roman afterward. But he does stand tall with the ones in the air. Takeaway here is simple. Roman Reigns returns. He kills Seth Rollins, but his wise man seems to be more worried about CM Punk than he does Roman Reigns. The return that we all wanted is here. WrestleMania looks right around the corner. This was fantastic. Popping it all.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to pop this stuff. Like you said, there was a little bit of a finisher fest there for a little bit. And that's probably the only part of the match that I really have a problem with. Yeah. Everything else, though, was great stuff. The trash talk back and forth. You could really feel the Rollins and Punk hate. Like, you could just feel it oozing through. I really thought that was a great job the way they did that. And you get Roman Reigns returning. I mean, he takes out Seth, but he gives Seth the win here, which is, I mean, that's not for nothing, right? So gives Seth the win, destroys Seth. the Heyman stuff. I mean, the camera pans and you're like, oh my God. Like, we all know what that means. Like, he's choosing CM Punk here. And Roman just has this like smirk, like, okay, yeah, okay. Like, you really think you're going to choose him over me, sort of thing? And then he just takes him out. And you got Paul in the corner. He's not doing like a prayer like he normally does, right? He's doing like it's like worried. Like, he's part of him is like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. But also I'm somewhat acknowledging my tribal chief. Like, I'm conflicted, sort of thing. I think that's really important to know. It's a very conflicted prayer, also worried about my friend. And you get Roman Reigns back. I mean, this is phenomenal stuff. We all thought Roman was coming back tonight, and this delivered. I mean, this was great.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we wanted. It was Roman Reigns coming back, returning the favor to Seth Rollins, almost killing him. And then it was like, how are we going to get CM Punk involved in all this? Well, when he turned and looked at Heyman in the ring, I think all of our jaws collectively dropped. It was like, whoa, what is Heyman doing? We didn't even see Paul Heyman out there. And now he's there for CM Punk, giving him like a shoulder to get up with. Like, Roman Reigns is going to be like, well, what the hell are you trying to do? Steal my wise man? Interweaves everything perfectly together. You don't even need CM Punk using a favor at that point. Like, it just all connects. It's starting to fit in like puzzle pieces. I cannot wait for this. Roman's back. WrestleMania season's here. We're ready to go.
Yeah, you don't need to use the favor, and I think we're on the same page there. You could have Punk say, well, let me use the favor to get inserted or some way, somehow. Like, I want to get back at Roman Reigns or whatever. Admittedly, if that's the favor, that's ass.
Yeah,
like, I don't want that.
I agree.
I don't want that. So I'd rather just do what we're talking about. Triple threat. It's all fitting together. It's all perfect. You can have the favor further down the line. I think a lot of people kind of wrap their heads around it has to be done at Mania this year. And I was a big, I thought that as well. But then as the weeks kind of got closer and closer, you're like, you're running out of time. So it's probably not Mania. I think now we're kind of getting, okay, it's not Mania, especially with Paul choosing Punk seemingly right now. That favor is not going to be needed for a while.
Yeah, you don't exactly. You don't need it. You did a good job. This one little segment, I mean, that cleared the air. It's like, we don't need any favor. There's reason. Obviously, there's a decade of reasons for Roman and Seth to want to kill each other. But now when Roman turns and sees the wise man with Punk, it's like, okay, well, now I want to kill you too. Bada bing, bada boom. I mean, you don't need to go any deeper here. We don't need to do the favor thing. We don't need to make up a random favor right now, because I don't think WWE is for sure knowing what the favor is right now, right? So we don't need to make one up out of thin air in order to get there. So now it's all tied together. Now we just see if they give them the main event spot.
I mean, I think we all kind of realize, or at least myself in my head, I have a pretty good idea of how I think this match is going to go down now. Now, whether or not it's main event, I guess we will wait and see. But I'm starting to run with the ideas of booking the match in my head, and I think they sound pretty good.
Nah, ain't bad. I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. Good stuff, though. Next week, we get John Cena, Belgium. The tour begins, and for those of you who watch our live streams, we will be doing our live streams at around the same time that we normally do for Raw. So normal Raw times, maybe 30 minutes before, but we work. So we're not going to be watching Raw. It'll be all new to us. We'll try to keep spoilers out. And for people watching Raw when it is live, when it's overseas, try to stay out of our comment sections with spoilers and stuff. We want to make sure that our community is all together and, watching it when they want to, basically, right? No spoilers, but can't wait for all that stuff. Follow us on all of our socials at COD WrestlePod, COD WrestlePod. Listen to our podcast wherever you get a podcast at YouTube, Spotify, Apple, etc. And then, of course, we have a link tree in our bio. It's got all this stuff in it. Go follow, subscribe, share. We would love it. I'm Will. That's Brandon. We are the Cousins of Destruction Wrestling Podcast, and we will see you next time.